Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Everyday Homeschooler, where we chat about education, homemaking, and everyday life. I've mentioned in some of my previous videos that we use SpellingYouSee as our spelling curriculum. So today I thought I would share about SpellingYouSee Level D Americana. Grab a cup of coffee and let's jump in. Okay, so let's just get this portion out of the way. I am not being sponsored or paid, or I have not been given any curriculum in order to provide this feedback. Everything that I'm going to share today is just my own genuine thoughts and opinions about SpellingYouSee. Okay, so before we get started, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about SpellingYouSee as a whole, the entire curriculum, all of the levels in general. If you have watched any of my other reviews or flip-throughs about SpellingYouSee, you may just want to skip this part. I will make sure to put some timestamps down below in the description box so that if you want to jump forward or fast forward straight to where I'm talking just about level D, you can feel free to do that. So over the years, I have been frustrated over many of the SpellingYouSee reviews and flip-throughs, especially YouTube videos that I have seen out there. So many of them misrepresent SpellingYouSee as a whole. Often you will see videos where they are demonstrating how to do the curriculum wrongly, where they are skipping portions of the program, or sometimes they're even just focused on the wrong things, like improving handwriting as well as spelling. Some videos have even claimed that children should be able to use SpellingYouSee completely independently without a teacher or a parent alongside of them. A lot of these claims, I think, are just rooted in the fact that people do not take the time to really read cover to cover the instructor's handbook, where it outlines and details all of the different aspects of SpellingYouSee. So that's why I'm making this video today. I wanted to provide you guys with a review about SpellingYouSee Level D Americana, and I really just wanted to make sure that there was some videos out there that were representing the entire SpellingYouSee philosophy and strategy as a whole. So we are getting ready to go into our 7th school year using SpellingYouSee, and last year I began using it with my 3rd child. I heard about SpellingYouSee from its author, Dr. Karen Halinga. She actually provides us with our annual school assessments that are required here in our state, and she lives local to us, and this is a service that she provides. So if you head to the SpellingYouSee website, you will immediately see that this spelling curriculum is different than anything else that is currently on the market. It has no lists to memorize, no spelling tests to study for, and absolutely no prep work. It is completely open and go. SpellingYouSee is not age or grade level based. Their books are more about skill development. This means for Level D, I have had a child in 4th grade working on it, and I've also had a child in 6th grade working at this level. It just depends on where your child's spelling skills are. SpellingYouSee focuses on copywork and dictation and has a definite Charlotte Mason feel to it. SpellingYouSee has you as the parent or teacher provide lots of encouragement and positive reinforcement to your child. You're not going through with a red pen marking all of the words that they got incorrect. Instead, you are celebrating with them all of the words that they do spell correctly. The program also encourages you to provide a calm and relaxing and positive atmosphere, which I just think is so different than so many spelling programs out there that feel very stressful and regimented, and like you have to just quickly take this time test to get all of these words correct in a fast pace. Instead, it's just very calm and relaxed and very enjoyable. What makes SpellingYouSee so different is that it approaches spelling at a different angle. The SpellingYouSee philosophy is totally different than any other curriculum I have found. SpellingYouSee is very brain focused and really hones in on the stages of spelling in your child's development. And I would really encourage you to check out one of Dr. Halinga's videos outlining the stages of spelling and how that incorporates with your child's brain development. She will explain it much better than I ever will. I'll make sure to link one of her videos below. I could go on and on about what makes SpellingYouSee different and unique from other spelling curriculums out there, but I would just encourage you to head to their website and look at it for yourself. Okay, so when you purchase SpellingYouSee Level D Americana, you will get an instructor's handbook. They are not normally hole punched. I just did this for my own purposes. You will also receive 2 student workbooks, Part 1 and Part 2. They are not normally spiral bound. I will talk about this in a minute, but you will come with 2 workbooks. You will also get these really great erasable colored pencils from Crayola that you will use every single day with the curriculum. So the cost of this curriculum as a whole, everything that I just showed you, is $53. If you have additional students or would like to use it later with siblings, just ordering the student workbooks, both of those would cost you $47. All right, so let's go ahead and do a quick flip through of the curriculum so that you can get a feel of what is included. Okay, so here is the front cover of the SpellingYouSee Americana Instructor's Handbook. Normally, it does not have these hole punches here. I just added that so that I could put it in a 3-ring binder when I wanted to. Okay, so here is the table of contents. Next, we have several pages that discusses the SpellingYouSee philosophy. And it just goes through and outlines the different stages of spelling. Americana D focuses in on that stage 3 of skill development. Next, there are several pages that outline instructions for each of the individual lessons that you will cover. The next section goes really in depth about chunking, and if you are not familiar with SpellingYouSee, this is just a huge part of the program. So as an example, we'll just look right here at vowel chunks. They will go through on any word, and anytime they see a double A or an IO, they will mark this with their yellow colored pencil with a box around it and color it in. By the last lessons in the curriculum, your child will be chunking all of the different chunks in one passage at the same time. So unfortunately, I do not currently own an entire D workbook part 1. My daughter actually completed that last year in school, and I just saved a few pages to show her progress. But I think that the pages I saved will actually be able to give you a pretty good idea of what the part 1 book has. This is from the first lesson. Again, in the first lesson, she was just focused on doing vowel chunks. This is one about the flag. Here you can see in lesson 16, that's about Clara Barton, that she is now doing multiple different chunks on one passage each day. Here is also a really great example of a dictation day, and this is from week 12. You can see here that she is using pen and not erasing, and instead just putting one line through when she did make a mistake on a word. For instance, in the word government, she forgot the N, and she realized that very quickly, so she put one line through it and then just wrote it again correctly. Here is a look at the Part 2 student workbook. I will get into this later, but they normally do not come spiral bound. They instead are book bound. This is something I did myself. Part 2 contains lessons 19 through 36. You can see here in lesson 21 that she was covering Martin Luther King Jr. And on day A, she would have to read the passage, chunk the passage, do copy work, and then chunk her copy work. On day B and C, she is doing again the same thing. And then on day D, she is doing her first dictation. You can see that she did not get the entire passage dictated. That was okay. We spent a lot of time just talking about different words that she was having trouble with. For instance, you can see here junior. She had a little bit of trouble with that I-O. You'll also note that at the bottom it says I spelled 45 words correctly. We did not go through and say that she spelled, 3 or 4 words incorrectly. Instead, we focused on what she did do right. On day 5, on 21E, you can see that her dictation really increased in accuracy and in length. In that 10-minute time span, she was actually able to get a lot more accomplished, and it was much more accurate. She spelled 69 words correct on the last day of this passage. By the end of Americana D, your child will be doing much larger passages with more complicated words and chunking. This is from lesson 34, where they're doing Eleanor Roosevelt. SpellingYouSee is designed for use for 36 weeks, 5 days per week. If you would like to use the curriculum only 4 days a week, you can. Dr. Halinga suggests that if you are going to skip one of the 5 lessons every week, that you should skip either A, B, or C, one of the chunking and copywork days. Never to skip the dictation days. So sometimes when we have a 4-day week in our house, we will spend the first 2 days doing lessons A and B. We'll skip C, and then the other 2 days we will finish out by doing lessons D and E. Okay, so each lesson takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes depending on what day you're working on. On days A, B, and C, when your child is really just focusing on reading the passage, chunking, and doing their copy work, this takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. SpellingYouSee suggests that your child spends no more than 10 minutes doing their copy work. So if you would like, you can use a timer with your child when they begin their copy work. On days D and E, again, this takes anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes total. Your child will read the passage, chunk the passage, which can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes depending on your child, and then you will set a timer and spend 10 minutes dictating the passage to your child. So you may be asking yourself, how do I know if my child is ready for level D? Well, just because D is the 4th letter of the alphabet does not mean that your 4th grader should automatically start with SpellingYouSee Level D. Remember that this is not age or grade level based, but instead spelling development based. I would definitely encourage you to head to the website and take their placement test to decide what level in SpellingYouSee to place your child in. But I'm just going to read right from the website the description of Level D. It says that this level is for a proficient reader with gradually improving spelling skills. Americana may be appropriate for an older student who reads well at this level, but whose spelling skills are not necessarily equivalent. So when you're deciding where to place your child, really think about not only what their reading level is, but their spelling level. So now I would invite you to sit down with my daughter and I and do a lesson with us. And as we're doing the lesson, I am going to narrate and provide you with some tips and tricks that I have learned with SpellingYouSee after using it for so many years. So today, Leah and I are going to demo for you a lesson B, the second day that would be in your work week. This is a copy work and chunking day and not a dictation day. But I will go ahead and provide you with some tips and tricks that I have learned along the way about our dictation days. So the first thing that you should do when you are ready to start a SpellingYouSee lesson with your child is to gather your materials. Your child will need to grab all of their erasable colored pencils and their student workbook, and you will need your instruction manual. Another really important thing to remember when you are doing a lesson in SpellingYouSee is to make sure that you follow the instructions that are at the top of each lesson. Most lessons, they will ask you to read the passage aloud to your child and to have your child follow along by pointing their finger at each of the words as you read it together. This is really important because it helps to connect encoding and decoding in their brain. This is a part of the program that I often see people skip, which really will affect the results that you have. In Level D, they will really focus and hone in on their chunking skills, which includes taking those colored pencils that come with the curriculum and marking up the passage with different chunks. There are several different chunks that your child will learn, starting with vowel chunks that they will mark in yellow, consonant chunks they'll mark in blue, bossy R chunks they will mark in purple, endings that they will mark in red, silent letters they will mark with orange, and tricky Y guys that they will mark with a green colored pencil. Once your child finishes chunking, they will move on to 10 minutes or less of copy work. This is a great time to go ahead and get out a timer and set it for 10 minutes. Once they have completed 10 minutes of copy work, they can be done, whether they finish the worksheet or not. SpellingYouSee Level D Americana, as the name suggests, covers nonfiction passages from American history. Your children will be doing copy work about Mount Rushmore, Davy Crockett, the Statue of Liberty, all kinds of people and events that happened through U.S. history. Remind yourself as your child is doing the lesson that this time is not to be focused on handwriting, but on spelling. Do not allow your child to do cursive. Always have them write in print. This has a lot to do with how their brain is understanding and visualizing each of the words that they are reading in print. In the instructor's handbook, it says that this is meant to be a sloppy copy, meaning that your child should be able to write as sloppy as they need or want to because they are so focused on spelling. As long as their words are legible, move on. If you are looking for a handwriting supplement to go along with something like this for your child, something that we have personally done in years past is I have used the passage that they are doing in SpellingYouSee separately outside of our SpellingYouSee time and used it for handwriting time. I have allowed them to use a separate piece of paper to copy it in print and to really focus on those handwriting skills, and I've even had them copy it in cursive. I've written the passage out on a whiteboard in cursive and had them copy it in cursive. Days when your child is working on dictation instead of copy work, I would suggest having your child use a pen. The instructor's handbook says that children should not erase, but instead should mark out their words that they get incorrect, and to try again until they can make the word look right. Having a pencil with an eraser can sometimes be tempting, so using pen makes this easier. This is a time that you should really focus on a dialogue with your child. Go through and really help them with all capitalization, punctuation, and any words that they are having trouble with. You cannot help your child too much. Talk about rule breakers and chunks that are overlapping or difficult. So much of your child's spelling learning will happen in this discussion time. One other thing that I would recommend having you do is to have your child read their copy work back to you each day, and on the days when they do dictation, have them read that dictation passage back to you aloud as well. This is really important because it helps to connect encoding and decoding in their brain.
Of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. As First Lady, she did more than host parties. She worked to make life better for people.
Okay, so let's talk pros and cons. Pros, there are a lot. Obviously, I really like this curriculum, or I wouldn't be using it for 7 years. SpellingYouSee is completely open and go. There is no prep work, no tests, no words to memorize. We simply just pull out our materials and hit the ground running. I love the fact that SpellingYouSee is so encouragement based and that it provides this calm and relaxed and fun atmosphere for spelling in our household. Also, SpellingYouSee pairs really nicely if you are already using handwriting without tears. The handwriting guides are those 2-lined handwriting approach rather than the 2 lines with the dashes in the middle. So if you're familiar with handwriting without tears, SpellingYouSee pairs great with that. I also love the history content in Americana. I and my kids have both learned quite a bit about history as we have done our spelling work this year. The chunking system is just something different that I have not seen in any other spelling curriculum out there, and it has just visually worked for my children, especially for my struggling speller. This really helped to bridge the gap for rule breakers and for words that were just not making sense to this child. Having that chunking system just really worked well for them. The biggest pro I can say is that my kids like it. My kids enjoy spelling. Even my struggling speller, this is one of their favorite subjects of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Leah what she thinks about it and let her share with you.
I like chunking because there's all different types of colors, and I like it because it really helps me in spelling. I like to do it together with my siblings. My favorite levels have been history and animals.
Okay, so cons. SpellingYouSee is definitely a little bit pricey. When you think about the fact that you're spending over $50 for one level of spelling for your child, for one child, that can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if you have a big family like I do and you're having to buy spelling for several students. And honestly, there isn't that much of a discount if you are just buying student workbooks for your other children. $47. I mean, again, that's a little bit spendy. But if I'm honest with you, oftentimes my children have taken more than 1 year to get through a level of SpellingYouSee. So sometimes that $50 is actually paying for a year and a half of spelling. I've even had a student who was struggling a little bit and it covered 2 years of spelling. So $25 for a spelling curriculum for a year wasn't so bad. And let's be honest, if you can find a curriculum that works well for your family, a few extra dollars is not that much of a stumbling block. Another con is that a timer can sometimes be frustrating for some children. I have one child who loves the timer, who loves to race the clock and see if they can get more words correct this time than they did last week. I have another child where that's a little bit stressful for them. And so I don't have the timer out. I have the timer on my phone that I am watching, and I just say, okay, we're going to start. Okay, this is going to be our last word. And I don't have the timer visible for them. And that creates a much less stressful environment. So just be cautious that a timer can be stressful for some kids. If it is, just ditch it. So another con that I've shared in some of my other SpellingYouSee videos is the binding. Normally, the student workbooks come bound like a book with a flat edge. And when my kids have used this, it's been frustrating to them, especially when they get to those middle pages, that the book will not lay flat. And this messes up their handwriting and just they're constantly having to smash the book. I fixed this by just taking it to a local copy store, having it cut and spiral bound. That way my kids can lay the book flat or even just work on one page at a time. This has actually been super helpful for dictation days too. We don't have to worry about covering this side of the page. They can just simply open it and flip that to the back so that they can't see it. So having the curriculum spiral bound is really helpful, although again, it adds an additional cost. Spiral binding books is a few dollars at our local copy store, so that adds on to the cost each year of SpellingYouSee. The other con that I would say with SpellingYouSee is that sometimes it can be difficult to tell if your child is progressing well in their spelling development. Because there are no tests, because there are no words lists to memorize, it's hard to grade your child's work. Sometimes you can ask yourself, is my child actually making any progress this year? When you read the instructor's manuals, some of the cues that they tell you can look for is if your child is completing dictation in a faster manner. Also, if their accuracy is increasing. If at the beginning of the level they are getting 20 words correct on dictation day, and by the end of the level they're getting 53 words correct, then you know that they're making progress. Another way that the handbook says that you can tell if your child is progressing is by looking at their spelling in other subjects. Are they spelling more words correctly in history and in science and maybe in a math word problem? Are words that they were struggling to spell previously coming to them easier? Now, sometimes I've been a little frustrated by this because sometimes I don't see that much of a difference in other subjects. Sometimes I'm kind of shocked by some of the words that my children get wrong in other subjects. When they're doing the copy work in SpellingYouSee, they spell it correctly, but 2 days later when they're writing a book report, they spell it incorrectly. If you read the handbook, Dr. Halinga talks about the fact that copying versus creating are two different things, and that oftentimes the brain can do a really good job at copying and memorizing it in the moment, but it takes a long time for the brain to really automate the process and really have that visual long-term memory of the word. This is a developmental thing and it does take time. Again, after using SpellingYouSee for so many years, I can definitely tell you this is true. You just have to be patient and trust in the process. Okay, so overall, my final thoughts about the program are obviously that I love SpellingYouSee, and there's just nothing like it on the market right now. We will definitely continue to use SpellingYouSee in our homeschool for the years to come, and as we do, I will make sure to provide you guys with more flip-throughs and reviews about the other levels. If you haven't seen my SpellingYouSee Level A review, I will put a link to that below. Okay guys, well I think that wraps things up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like it below, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Just go down and hit that red subscribe button. I make new videos each week about education, homemaking, and everyday life.